Hello friends, Tanya here for Trinity Stamps, and it is release day. We have a bunch of really fun products for you today, and this is part of a blog hop. Stick through to the end and you'll hear the details. Let's get started with the projects I created today. I am making 3 different cards, and this is a long video, guys. Hang in there, but you're going to love all the fun things you're going to see. I pulled out the heart stencils, and these are layering together, and there are 4 different size hearts, and we're going to use 3 of them on this piece of light gray cardstock. We're using Distress Oxides in 3 different purple tones. We're starting out with Shaded Lilac, and we're using the largest of the hearts that I'm going to use. And then we're going to use the second heart, and you can see that there are laser etched shapes here to line up with the previous size heart. We're going to use the next darkest of the colors that I chose here, and this is Dusty Concord. I am not filling the entire heart, just making sure I get around the edges and most of the way to the center. And then we're going to take the third heart, and this is the smallest heart, I believe, in this stencil set. And we're going to use Villainous Potion, the darkest of the purples. This is the newest Distress Oxide color from Tim Holtz. And I'm just quickly filling this one in completely. And there we have our 3 layered hearts on our background. And we're going to use the main image from the Porta-Hello stamp set. It's got 5 coordinating sentiments that are kind of punny, which I love. I love a good punny sentiment. So much fun. We're going to use a layer of purple cardstock behind this, and I'm going to take some liquid pixie dust and add some spatters to this because spatters are life. It just adds so much texture and layer to your card. I also used the 4-bar card and envelope builder die set to create these layers for this 4-bar card. A 4-bar card is basically a 3.5 by 5.5 inch card, and these layers are just slightly smaller than that, and they layer on each other. As I was putting this together, I wanted a little more texture, and I thought, oh my gosh, wood grain, that's what we need. So I pulled out this wood grain slimline stamp set that came out a little over a year ago, and I decided to just stamp it with some clear embossing ink over the top of this panel. Now it really helps that this was all on one panel and didn't have any layers that were actual physical layers. I did add an extra layer of cardstock or coaster blank behind each of these elements. I die cut this main image that I had colored with Copic markers, and I had stamped and heat embossed this sentiment and then die cut it with the coordinating die. It says, "I have so much room in my heart for you." I just love that. It's so fun. I did layer some pieces of cardstock scraps behind each of these layers before adhering them to my 4-bar card base that is made out of heavyweight white cardstock. It is 5.5 by 7.5 inches. No, yes, 7 inches, and scored in the middle at 3.5. Next, I am adhering all of my pieces to this card front and spacing that as well as I can. I want as much of that heart to show. Here are a bunch of purple different embellishments that are available in the Trinity shop, and all of these would coordinate with them, and I'm just trying to figure out which ones I want to use. You can use whichever purple ones you want. This happens to be some of the newer iridescent rhinestones. I want to say it's andesine, but I could be wrong. I'd have to look again. I'm using my Barely Art Precision Glue and a brand new pickup stick. Inside the card, I'm taking the main image and stamping it with the clear embossing ink in the corner, with part of the image hanging off the edge of the paper. Next, I'm going to take one of the stamped and heat embossed and die cut sentiments, and I'm gluing it inside the card. I like how a glued on sentiment looks on the inside of a card. And then I close the card and realize I stamped it in the wrong direction. Well, whoever gets this is just going to know that it's from me. That was a super fun card. Next, I'm going to create a card using the Hugs and Kisses stamp set from Love Danny. I love her designs. They are so fun to color. They have these big, bold words that really lend themselves well to different kinds of coloring mediums. And if you wanted to stamp a bunch of these to color on the road or as a quick project or to color with kids or grandkids, it'd be super easy to stamp a bunch of these and just bring them with to do all of your fun crafty projects without a whole lot of thought. The designs are complete in themselves and they create a great graphic image and have the sentiment. You don't have to think about any extras. It's all right there. You can just enjoy using whatever color mediums or die cutting that you would like. Now, if you haven't checked it out, the 4-bar card and envelope builder die set also creates die cuts that are exactly the same size as the Hugs and Kisses, all of the elements of this sentiment, including the ampersand and those 3 little hearts. So cute, I'm telling you. One of the tricks I love to use when I am Copic coloring an image is I make sure that I don't remove my stamp from my MISTI so that I can stamp over the finished colored product or project and either heat emboss or just sharpen up the edges or the lines in that image. And I love how that turns out. I did use the coordinating dies from that die set that I just talked about, the 4-bar card and envelope builder, to die cut these 3 different little cute hearts. And I am layering those up with some heavyweight white cardstock scraps behind this maroon cardstock. And I'm going to adhere those to the card. But first, I'm going to do a little cleanup. I was a little sloppy with my alcohol marker coloring, and the stamping over the finished project really helped sharpen that up. However, I'm going to come back in with this white gel pen to clean up all of the other mistakes or the little outside the lines and make it just perfect. None of us are perfect, and it's good to know how to clean things up. I'm going to add a little bit of coaster blank behind each of these. You could use whatever kind of dimension you enjoy. You could use the foam tape, you could just use scraps of cardstock, or you could just adhere these flush with the rest of the paper. So I'm laying these out to decide if I have them the way I like them. But before I finish this, I'm going to take one of these dies from the 4-bar card and envelope builder and look at how perfectly they work with the Love Danny stamps. I'm going to take the smallest and the next smallest of these dies and die cut one around the main image and then one with the black cardstock for a layer behind our main image. I'm also going to take some cardstock scraps and adhere those to the back of my my panels to add a little depth and dimension to my cards. As you can see here, I am just piecing together these scraps to cover the majority of the back of the cardstock. This really is a great way to add a little extra stability and a little height to your card if you're addicted to dimension like I am. So we're going to adhere the black base to my 3.5 by 5.5 inch cardstock panel here. I'm sorry, I keep saying 3.5 by 5.5. It's 3.5 by 5 inches. That's the size of a 4-bar card. The envelope is 3.8 inches by 5.5 inches. So you'll have plenty of room to put a card with a lot of embellishments on it in the envelope without it being too snug. Here I am adding the hearts to the card, and this one has a little extra height so that it layers over the top of that larger heart without any difficulties. I went with a real cool palette with the purples and blues, and I'm kind of in a purples and blues mood. I hope this is a fun, neutral color combo for you, and you could see giving this to any gender, any relation, just a fun heart, or excuse me, a fun love card. I am going to add a little sparkle to the hearts with this clear Wink of Stella marker. And then that is, oh, nope, I had decided to do it just a little more. I have my sparkle pen from Sakura Jelly Roll. I think it's a Stardust pen. And I'm just adding a little bit of shine lines to each of these letters. They're kind of that big bubbly look. And this gives them just a little extra illusion of dimension by adding these sparkle lines, shine lines along the different chubby parts of the letters. Just love how that works out. You can use white gel pens for that if you like also. Next, I'm going to take these Rainbow Reflections rhinestones and add a scattering of these over the card front. We have all of these gorgeous embellishments, and I cannot resist adding them to just about every project. You think you don't want to hoard these. There are so many. You can't possibly use them all up. Not very quickly. There are so many that you're going to want to try, so go ahead and use them. Use them all up, then you can get new ones. That's my philosophy anyway. Super fun. Next, we're going to take the I Goat You stamp and die set, and I wanted to do something just a little different. So I took the stamps for the underwear, or the boxer shorts, and the socks, and I took 6 different cardstock colors, scraps from my bin. I just opened my rainbow of cardstock scraps and pulled out 3 purples and 3 blues that I thought would go well together. And I'm going to stamp them on these stamp the cardstocks in clear embossing ink, and then I'm going to white heat emboss them. Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit to get my scraps to fit in here because I don't want to move my stamps. So I've just taken and trimmed down that cardstock to create a piece that would fit in the MISTI so that my images would stamp on there perfectly. Next, I'm going to sprinkle some white detail embossing powder over each of these, and I am going to stamp this image set on each of the different colors twice. So we'll have 2 pairs of underwear and 2 pairs of socks with each color. And then we're going to create a fun background. So I'm just heat embossing those until they get nice and shiny and smooth. And next we're going to take the coordinating dies and die cut each of these little images. We're going to have quite a pile. I didn't use all of them, and I will have several left to create other projects. I'm sticking with the purple and blue vibe that I started with the first 2 cards, and I have to say, it's nice to get in a color swing that is a little different than what I've been doing lately. Those dies cut the images out just perfectly. Next, we're going to take one of the layers from the 4-bar card and envelope builder die set, and we're going to die cut a piece of white cardstock with that die. You can see the fun modern embossed edge on that. And then we're going to take all of these fun stamped, embossed, and die cut images and scatter them over the card front. I thought I was just going to drop them, but now I decided to layer them just a little, or lay them down in a random, yet not completely random pattern. I tried to alternate socks and underwear, and I tried to be fairly random but not have a lot, like it all blue on one chunk and all purple in another chunk. I tried to keep them rather scattered throughout the card. I'm just going to adhere each of these in place using a tweezer to help me keep my fingers out of the glue and keep that white panel that I'm gluing them to nice and pristine. That can be sometimes my biggest struggle because I get my fingers gluey and inky. Do you? Do you struggle with getting dirty fingers all over your pretty clean cardstock? There are a few tricks to avoid that. I'm going to trim off all of the extra hanging off pieces after I let the glue dry. Just going to use my little snips. My long bladed scissors disappeared after everyone used them to cut gift wrap paper. They just haven't made a reappearance, and I miss them. Next, we're going to take this cute little patchwork heart, and we're going to stamp it with the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. It's one of my favorite inks because it's a pigment hybrid ink that stamps perfectly nearly every time, as long as you get the entire stamp to make connection with the paper. And there are all of those cute little hearts. Next, I am going to use the layering heart stencils again. I am using, let's see, that's Prize Ribbon, and that might be Seedless Preserves. I think that's Seedless Preserves. And I'm going to put the purple down first, and then put the blue in the center with the next down-sized ink. Oops, I almost forgot to switch stencils. I love that they line up so perfectly with those laser etched lines, and that takes the guesswork and some of the time out of centering these hearts together. I love how these inks layer together. It is so pretty. And I don't know if you know this, but there is a coordinating die set for these layering heart stencils. So I found the matching heart to die cut these stenciled hearts out, and we'll just tape that down, run it through the die cut machine, and you can see that I got it just a little smidge off, but that's okay. Those white edges will blend right in. I'm going to spatter these this heart with the liquid pixie dust also. I just had some left in my little palette there. And next I'm going to stamp the sentiments that come with the I Goat You stamp set and decide which ones I want to use later. I did heat emboss those, or did I? Maybe I didn't. Next I pulled out a piece of craft colored cardstock, and I used the VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink to stamp the little girl goat and die cut her with the coordinating die. I didn't want to do any coloring on this particular card. This just goes to show that all of these images that can be colored don't have to be colored. You can stamp them on colored cardstock and do paper piercing, or just straight up die cut them with a piece of colored cardstock being their only color. This is the boy goat, and I do die cut him also. However, I don't end up using him on this card. I just couldn't make it fit in the layout the way I wanted. Next, we're going to take the little heart patch and stamp that on a couple different colors of cardstock, and we're also going to die cut those. These are going to go on the inside of the card, again with the punny sentiments. I love them. I'm going to use 2 of those on this card also. It's so cute. We have, let's see, we are going to use the We Make a Great Pair and the My Heart Bleats for You. So cute. So we're going to adhere this card front to the 4-bar card base, again 3.5 by 5 inches. And I'm going to add a little bit of coaster blank behind the heart and adhere that to the center and cover up some of those die cut pieces that I worked so hard on. And then we're going to adhere the sentiment to the center of that card. Inside here I'm fitting the different pieces in, and that it just seems too much for this small card. So it's going to end up being just the little girl goat and the hearts and 1 sentiment. This is actually the smaller sentiment. And gosh, if I remember what it says. I Goat You. maybe that's what, no, I choose you. I love that. It's so hilarious. So we've got these little chewed up patchwork hearts around the word I choose you, and our cute little goat who ties that whole thought together. I'm just going to adhere this last little piece inside our card, and that completes my cards. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I want you to enter to win a chance for a $25 gift certificate from the Trinity Stamps store. You can do that by looking in that description box below for the ways to enter and the next video in this hop. Until next time, bye-bye.